AITA for refusing to sign after my girlfriend and her ex tried to go around me? I'm Henry, 37, and I had been with Clara for almost 4 years when this happened. We were at that point in a relationship where our lives had started blending together without either of us announcing it. Half my coffee mugs were at her place. She kept a pair of my running shoes by her door because I was there so often. She knew I hated the decorative pillows on her couch, but also knew I would stack them neatly on the chair instead of throwing them on the floor. She had claimed one of my gray hoodies so completely that I stopped referring to it as mine. Moving in together felt like the obvious next step. At least, that was what I believed. When Clara and I first started dating, what I liked most about her was how alive she made everything feel. She could turn a grocery run into an argument over which cereal mascot would win in a fight. She made boring Saturdays feel like they had a soundtrack. She talked easily to strangers, laughed loudly, and never seemed embarrassed by anything. I'm quieter. I like plans. I check the reservation twice. I keep receipts. I read the cancellation policy before I put down money. At first, Clara said that made us a good balance. You stopped me from accidentally booking a hotel in another country, she once told me. And you stopped me from spending the whole trip organizing the hotel drawers, I said. That kind of difference used to feel affectionate. Over time, though, her jokes changed. I stopped being grounded and became cautious. Then cautious became boring. Then boring became a word she used whenever I disagreed with her. If I asked how much something cost, she would sigh and say, "You always make everything heavier than it needs to be." If I wanted to confirm plans before inviting people, she would tell me I was turning it into a project. And if I objected to something involving Owen, her ex-boyfriend, I was insecure. Owen had dated Clara for about 2 years before I met her. Their relationship had ended because, according to Clara, he was unreliable and more interested in impressing people than building anything stable. That should have made his continued presence in her life less threatening. Instead, it made it more confusing. He would reply to her social media posts with comments that were just familiar enough to feel inappropriate, but vague enough that Clara could pretend they were harmless. That jacket was always your best look. You still order that drink wrong. Knew you'd pick the loudest one. When I mentioned it, Clara rolled her eyes. He's joking. He comments like he still knows you better than I do. That's because he knew me before you. It was the kind of answer that sounded reasonable for about 3 seconds. Owen started appearing in conversations that had nothing to do with him. If Clara and I were choosing a restaurant, she would say Owen had been there and thought the menu was overrated. If I bought a jacket, she would joke that Owen would never wear something that plain. Once, while we were getting ready for her friend's birthday, she looked me up and down and said, "You should dress more like Owen. He knows how to show up." I stared at her. She must have seen something in my face because she laughed and touched my arm. "Oh, come on. Don't make it weird. I didn't bring your ex into the room. You did. You know what I mean." "No, I don't." She dropped her hand. "This is why I don't say things to you. You take everything personally." That became one of her favorite moves. She would say something disrespectful, then make my reaction the problem. For a while, I let it happen because I did not want to become the jealous boyfriend she kept accusing me of being. I told myself Owen was background noise. Clara was choosing me. We were the couple making plans. I was the person she called when her car would not start, when she had a fight with her sister, when she got sick, when she needed help figuring out a bill. But eventually I started noticing the pattern. I handled the serious parts of her life. Owen got invited into the visible parts. Clara wanted me to plan the trips, but she wanted Owen's opinion on where the best pictures would be. She wanted me to help compare cars, but she sent Owen photos because he understood style. She wanted me to talk through budgets, but she called him whenever she wanted someone to say, "Go for it." I brought it up one night after dinner. We were sitting at her kitchen table with 2 plates between us and a half-finished bottle of sparkling water. "I don't like how involved Owen is in decisions that are supposed to be between us," I said. Clara did not even look surprised. "He's not involved. You ask for his opinion constantly. That's not involvement. You compare me to him. I tease you. You tell me he understands you better." She pushed her plate away. "I knew this was where you were going." "Where am I going?" "You're trying to control who I talk to." "I'm not telling you who you can know. I'm telling you I won't build a home where your ex gets a vote." She leaned back in her chair. "You hear yourself, right? That sounds controlling." "No, it sounds like a boundary. It sounds like you're threatened by someone I'm not even dating." I sat there for a few seconds and tried to decide whether there was a version of that conversation where she would hear me. Then it should be easy for you not to involve him in our relationship. Her expression hardened. Owen is not the problem. Your insecurity is. I should have taken that moment more seriously than I did. Instead, I tried to compromise. I said I was not asking her to cut him off. I asked her to stop using him as a comparison and to keep him out of decisions about our future. She agreed, but in the way people agree when they want the conversation to end. Fine, she said. Can we move on now? A few months later, Clara brought up moving in together. She did it casually while sitting on my couch with her legs across my lap. We're basically living together already, she said. We're just doing it badly in two places. I had thought about it too. We had been together long enough. Our schedules were already built around each other. We were spending money maintaining two separate routines while constantly moving bags back and forth. So I said yes. For the first 2 weeks, it felt good. We made a shared list of what we wanted. 2 bedrooms, so one could be used as an office or guest room. Enough storage. Decent parking. A kitchen with enough counter space that we would not be elbowing each other every morning. Clara wanted charm and natural light. I wanted clean terms, manageable costs, and no surprises. We found a rental home through a property connection I already had. The setup was simple. I had final say over the unit and any rental agreements. Paul, the property manager, handled all the paperwork and the walkthrough, but nothing was finalized without my written approval. I had not explained every detail to Clara yet because there had been no reason to make it a big reveal. We were applying together, and I planned to go through the approval structure with her before either of us signed. What Clara didn't know was that I was handling the deposit hold, the cost estimate, the utility transfer list, the parking addendum, and most of the communication with Paul. She seemed happy to let me. She sent me listings and paint color ideas. I handled the parts involving deadlines and money. One night, I printed a move-in checklist and a 1-page agreement for us to discuss before the walkthrough. It was not a secret contract. It was a list of basic expectations, how we would split recurring costs, how we would handle groceries and utilities, and a clear line stating that neither of us could have a long-term guest without the other person agreeing. Clara read that line and laughed. What is this, a roommate policy? It's a shared home policy. We're dating, Henry. That's why we should agree before there's a problem. She tapped the page with one finger. How long is long-term? More than a few nights. Repeated stays. Someone using the address. Someone keeping belongings there. Who are you worried about? I'm not worried. I'm being clear. She watched me for a moment. Then she said, this is about Owen. It applies to everyone. But it's about Owen. If Owen isn't planning to live with us, then it shouldn't matter. She tossed the paper onto the table. You have a talent for making something exciting feel like paperwork. I collected the page without answering. A week before the walkthrough, Clara told me Owen would be stopping by. She said it while scrolling through photos of the place. He'll only be there for 10 minutes, she said. He has a good eye for layout. No. She looked up. No. He's not coming to our walkthrough. She gave me a flat look. Why are you acting like I asked him to move in? Because I've already told you I don't want him involved in decisions about our home. He's giving an opinion. We have opinions. You don't care about furniture placement. I care that this is something we're supposed to do together. She put her phone down. You're willing to ruin the whole day over this. I'm not ruining anything. I'm asking you not to bring your ex to our move-in walkthrough. You know how that sounds. Yes. Reasonable. She stood and started gathering the cups from the coffee table. If you were confident in us, this would not bother you. I followed her into the kitchen. If you respected us, you would not keep forcing him into things that belong to us. She turned on the faucet harder than necessary. You always need to win. No. I need you to answer the actual issue. The actual issue is that you don't trust me. The issue is that I said no, and you're trying to shame me until I change it. She did not answer. That night, she was distant. The next morning, she acted normal. I took the shift in mood as a quiet agreement. That was my mistake. The night before the walkthrough, Clara was at my place. We had ordered takeout and were going through the utility list at the kitchen counter. She got up to shower, leaving her phone face up near the sink. I was not touching it. I was not looking for anything. The screen lit up while I was standing there. The message preview was from Owen. Is he signing first? Or do you want me to wait until after to bring my stuff? I read it twice because the first time my brain tried to soften it. There was no reasonable interpretation. Not furniture samples. Not a tape measure. His stuff. I waited until Clara came back into the kitchen. Her hair was wet, and she was wearing the gray hoodie she had stolen from me almost 2 years earlier. What stuff is Owen bringing? I asked. She stopped. What? His message came up on your phone. Her eyes moved immediately to the counter. You read my messages? It appeared on the screen. What stuff is he bringing? She grabbed the phone and held it against her chest like I had been digging through it. This is exactly what I mean. What stuff, Clara? You are always looking for a reason to be suspicious. I didn't look for anything. It appeared in front of me. She unlocked the phone and swiped at the screen. What did he mean? He has some boxes. Why would he bring boxes to our home? He might need somewhere to keep a few things for a little while. That is not what the message said. You're overreacting. He asked whether I was signing first. She looked away. That was the moment I knew. Not because she confessed. She never did. Because she stopped trying to make the explanation believable and switched entirely to attacking my reaction. Stop acting crazy, she said. You're proving my point. What point? That you can't handle anything without making it into some huge betrayal. Your ex asked when he should bring his belongings into the home I'm supposed to share with you. He is between places. So you told him he could stay. I said we would figure something out. You did not ask me. I knew you would react like this. You knew I would say no. She crossed her arms. You don't get to make every decision. I get to decide whether I live with your ex. He wouldn't be living with us. He asked when to bring his stuff. For a little while. How long? I don't know. Where would he sleep? The spare room, probably. I laughed once, but there was nothing funny in it. You planned to move your ex into our spare room after I signed. I did not plan anything. You are twisting it. Then explain why he needed to wait until after I signed. She stared at me, jaw tight. Finally, she said, I'm not doing this tonight. She picked up her bag. Are you still coming to the walkthrough? I asked. She looked offended that I had even asked. Of course I am. Is Owen? She opened the door. I'm not asking your permission to have someone stop by. Then she left. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after the door shut. My first instinct was to call her back and keep arguing until she admitted what was obvious. My second was to cancel everything immediately. Instead, I called Grant. Grant has been my closest friend for years. He is the kind of person who gets quieter when something is serious. I told him about the message. I told him Clara had said Owen might use the spare room. I told him she was still insisting he would attend the walkthrough. Grant asked one question. Do you have to sign tomorrow? No. Does anything happen without your approval? No. Then stop arguing. That's it. That's it. She's telling people I'm controlling. So I don't want everyone showing up tomorrow thinking I'm some jealous lunatic. Grant let out a slow breath. Henry, do not give her a scene. Give her a choice. Then let the paper trail talk. I sat down at the kitchen table. She'll twist whatever I do. She can twist your tone. She can twist your feelings. She cannot twist a missing signature. I rubbed my hand over my face. What would you do? I would bring the documents. I would ask her directly, once, whether Owen is staying. I would not argue with him. I would not defend myself for an hour. And I would not sign anything under pressure. He paused. Your signature is not an apology. After we hung up, I opened my laptop. I went through Paul's emails. Every approval notice, every move-in checklist, every key handoff instruction came through me. I checked the deposit hold. The funds had not been released. They were reserved pending final execution of the move-in terms. I printed the email that stated my approval was required before keys could be issued. Then I reviewed my messages with Clara. Most were ordinary. Grocery lists, photos, jokes. But buried in a thread about the walkthrough was a screenshot Clara had accidentally sent me 2 days earlier and then quickly deleted from the conversation. I had already saved it because the text caught my attention before she removed it. It was part of a conversation between Clara and Tessa. Tessa had written, Does Henry know Owen is coming? Clara replied, He knows Owen may stop by. Henry just needs to feel included until everything is done. Once he signs, he'll calm down. At the time, Clara told me the screenshot was from an old conversation and had nothing to do with the move. Now it fit perfectly. I saved 3 things for the walkthrough. The visible message from Owen about bringing his stuff. Clara's message saying I needed to feel included until I signed. Paul's email confirming my final approval. That was it. I was not interested in building a courtroom exhibit. I just wanted enough to prevent Clara from turning my decision into a jealous outburst. The next morning, she sent me one text. Please do not make today uncomfortable. I stared at it for a while before answering. I won't. I need a direct answer about Owen before I sign anything. She did not reply. The walkthrough was scheduled for late morning. I arrived 5 minutes early with a folder containing the move-in packet, the parking addendum, the utility transfer list, and the one-page terms Clara had mocked. Paul was already there, setting a clipboard on the kitchen counter. The home was empty except for a few rolls of protective floor covering near the entrance. Every sound carried. The refrigerator hummed loudly in the bare kitchen. Sunlight came through the living room windows and made the space look exactly like the future I had spent weeks imagining. Paul glanced at my folder. Ready to make this official? I need to clear up one thing first. He nodded without asking questions. Then the front door opened. Clara walked in with Tessa, Aunt Linda, and Owen. I had known Owen might come. I had not known Clara was bringing an audience. Tessa carried a tape measure and a notebook. Aunt Linda had a tote bag full of cleaning supplies, even though we were not moving that day. Owen had nothing in his hands and looked more comfortable than anyone else in the room. Clara kissed my cheek like the previous night had not happened. Everyone's here, she said brightly. I looked at her. You invited your aunt too? She offered to help. Aunt Linda gave me a tight smile. Clara said today might be stressful. I could hear the version of the story she had been told in that sentence. Owen walked into the living room and turned in a slow circle. Not bad, he said. Sofa should go against that wall. Clara followed him. That's what I said. I stayed near the kitchen. Tessa glanced between us, then opened her notebook. Do you two know the window measurements? Not yet, Clara said. That's why we're here. Owen pointed toward the hallway. Which one's the main bedroom? Clara showed him. He went inside without waiting for either of us. I watched him inspect the closet, then step into the second bedroom. This one's bigger than it looked in the pictures, he said. That's the spare room, Clara replied. Owen leaned against the doorframe. Guess I should know where I'm crashing. Aunt Linda laughed politely. Tessa did not. I looked at Clara. She gave me a warning expression. It was a joke, Henry. Don't start. I had not said a word. Paul looked up from his checklist. Are we adding another occupant? No, Clara said quickly. Owen lifted both hands. Relax. I'm just giving input. I could feel the anger rising in my chest, but Grant's voice stayed in my head. Do not give her a scene. I asked Clara to step into the kitchen with me. She hesitated, then followed. We were only a few feet away from everyone else. The house was too empty for privacy, but I kept my voice low. I'm giving you one chance to answer me clearly, I said. Did you tell Owen he could stay here? Her face tightened. Not now. Now is exactly when. You're embarrassing me. I asked you privately last night, and I told you he may need help for a short time. You told him to wait until after I signed. Her eyes flicked toward the living room. Lower your voice. My voice is low. Everyone can hear you. Then answer. She leaned closer. You are not the only person whose opinion matters. In our home, Owen's opinion does not matter. That attitude is why I didn't want to tell you. So you admit you hid it. She shook her head sharply. No, I admit I knew you would make this ugly. I opened the folder and pulled out the one-page move-in terms. I'm not signing until we agree to this. She looked down. I'm not doing your little contract in front of everyone. It says no long-term guests unless we both agree. You're obsessed. It also says neither of us moves another person in without written approval. I know what it says. Then sign it. She looked toward Paul, then toward Owen. I saw the calculation happen in real time. Clara had brought people because she thought I would be too embarrassed to hold the line in front of them. She thought I would sign to avoid looking insecure. Instead of answering, she raised her voice. This is why I didn't want you turning today into a control issue. Tessa looked up. Aunt Linda stepped closer. Clara took the paper from my hand, glanced at it, and swept the rest of the folder off the counter. Several pages slid onto the floor. One landed near the trash cabinet. Another caught against Paul's shoe. Just sign what I need you to sign, Clara said. Stop acting like you own the place. Owen looked at me with a small smile. Not a full grin. Just enough. Paul bent down and picked up the page near his shoe. He looked at the top, then at the approval section near the bottom. His eyebrows pulled together. Wait, he said. She doesn't know you're the final approval? The room went silent. Clara's expression changed so quickly, it was almost startling. What? Paul looked at me, then back at her. Henry's authorization is required before I release keys or complete the occupancy file. Clara gave a short laugh. He's just helping with the paperwork. Paul held up the page. That's not what this says. Tessa stared at Clara. You told me he was only paying the deposit. I never said only. You absolutely did. Aunt Linda looked from Clara to me. I thought this was Clara's application. It's a joint move-in request under my approval, I said. Clara's face flushed. You made it sound like we were doing this together. We were supposed to. You hid this from me. I was going to explain the approval structure before we signed. You were trying to get me to sign before telling me your ex was moving into the spare room. He was not moving in. Owen shifted against the wall. I was told it might be a few weeks. Clara whipped around. Why would you say it like that? Because that's what you said. You said you had nowhere to put your things. And you said Henry would cool down after the papers were done. That was the first moment Owen stopped looking like he was enjoying himself. He looked less like a rival and more like someone who had just realized he had been invited into a situation without being told the full risk. Clara turned back to me. You're twisting all of this. I took out my phone. No, I'm going to show 3 things, and then I'm done. She folded her arms. I'm not participating in this performance. You already created the audience. I showed Paul and Tessa the message from Owen. Is he signing first, or do you want me to wait until after to bring my stuff? Tessa read it, then looked at Clara. You said he was coming to give furniture advice. He was. With boxes? Clara looked at Owen again. He phrased it badly. I phrased it exactly how you told me, Owen said. I pulled up the screenshot of Clara's message to Tessa. Henry just needs to feel included until everything is done. Once he signs, he'll calm down. Tessa's mouth opened slightly. I remember this, she said. You deleted it and told me I misunderstood. Clara's voice sharpened. This is private. You sent it to me by accident, I said, and it describes exactly what you tried to do today. Aunt Linda put her tote bag down on the floor. Clara, were you planning to have Owen stay here? For a little while. Did Henry agree? He would have made it impossible. That isn't an answer. Clara turned on her aunt. Please don't join in. Aunt Linda did not respond. I showed Paul his own email confirming that my approval was required before key handoff. He nodded once. That's correct. Then I put my phone away. I'm not competing for a home I was expected to pay for and be disrespected in. Clara's expression shifted from anger to panic. Henry, can we go outside? I asked you to speak privately. Not like this. You brought everyone here. You threw the papers on the floor. You told me to sign what you needed. I was frustrated. You thought I had no choice. That is not true. You thought the worst thing I could do was make a scene and look jealous. She lowered her voice. Please. For almost 4 years, that word would have stopped me. Not because Clara used it often, but because when she did, I believed it meant she was finally being vulnerable. This time it sounded like another attempt to delay consequences. I looked at Paul. Cancel the move-in request under my approval. I'm not signing anything today. Paul did not dramatize it. He turned the clipboard around, made a note, and said, Then I can't proceed with the application or release keys. Clara stared at him. You can't just cancel it. I can't complete it without Henry's approval. What about my application fee? That fee covered processing. The deposit hold has not been released. She looked at me. You're taking the house away from me. It was never yours to take from me. Her eyes filled with tears. We picked this together. We did. Then you planned to move your ex into it and use me to make it possible. He needed help. So did honesty. She wiped at her face angrily. You are humiliating me. No, I'm refusing to protect the story you told everyone. Tessa stepped back from Clara. Why did you tell me Henry was controlling? Because he is. He asked if Owen was moving in. He makes everything conditional. I looked at her. My money, my name, and my signature are conditional. Clara laughed through her tears. There, that's the real you. No, this is the part of me you assumed would never say no. Owen pushed away from the wall. I didn't know she told you something different. I turned to him. You weren't my competition. You were the warning sign I kept ignoring. He looked like he wanted to respond, but there was nothing useful he could say. He glanced at Clara. Are my boxes still at your place? She stared at him. You're leaving? I'm not staying for this. You helped create this. I showed up because you said it was handled. That word landed badly. Handled. Like I was a task. Like my agreement was something Clara had planned to secure through timing and pressure. Owen walked out without another word. The front door shut behind him, and the sound echoed through the empty house. Clara looked at Tessa. You know how Henry is. Tessa shook her head. I know what you told me. That's not the same thing. Seriously? You said Owen was only stopping by. You said Henry was trying to control who you were friends with. You did not say Owen was bringing his stuff after Henry signed. He was between places. That does not make the lie disappear. Aunt Linda picked up the papers Clara had knocked down and placed them back on the counter. She did it slowly, without looking at Clara. That quiet gesture said more than any lecture could have. Paul closed the move-in folder. I'll send written confirmation that the request is canceled and the hold is released. Clara, if you want to submit a new application independently, it will be reviewed as a separate file. Can I do that today? She asked. Paul answered in the same flat, professional tone. You can apply. I cannot promise approval. Clara looked at me like she expected me to step in. I did not. The moving truck reservation was for 3 days later. She had already told people the new place was ours. She had scheduled a storage pickup and ordered a small dining table to be delivered the following week. None of that changed the fact that she had built the plan on a signature she did not yet have. I picked up my folder. I'm leaving. Clara followed me toward the door. Henry, stop. I kept walking. Can we please talk without everyone staring at us? We had that chance last night. I was tired. You were clear. I did not think you would do this. I know. She grabbed my arm lightly. I looked down at her hand, and she let go. You're ending 4 years over one misunderstanding. This is not one misunderstanding. Owen is not important. Then why did you risk us to include him? She had no answer. I stepped outside. The air felt colder than it should have. Grant was not there because I had not asked him to come. Part of me had still believed Clara might tell the truth before things went that far. I sat in my car for a few minutes before driving away. My phone started ringing before I reached the end of the block. Clara called 4 times. Then came a text. Please come back. We can fix this. Then another. You made me look like a liar in front of my family. I did not answer. An hour later, she left a voicemail. Her voice moved between crying and anger. She said she had only been trying to help Owen. She said I had always known she was loyal. She said I had embarrassed her deliberately because I wanted to prove I had power over her. Then she said something that removed any doubt I had left. You could have just signed and talked to me afterward. That was the entire problem. She still believed the honest conversation was supposed to happen after she got what she wanted. I saved the voicemail and called Grant. He answered on the first ring. How bad? Move-in canceled. Relationship probably over. Probably. I leaned back in my chair. Relationship over. That's better. I don't feel better. You're not supposed to feel good. You're supposed to be clear. I told him everything that happened. When I mentioned Paul's question, Grant was quiet for a second. She really did not know? She assumed I was just the person paying. That tells you what role she gave you. I knew he was right. That afternoon, I canceled the pending utility transfers. I removed my authorization from the moving service reservation I had agreed to split. I confirmed in writing that no deposit money should be released under my approval. I did not cancel anything Clara had paid for herself. I did not try to punish her. I simply stopped funding the plan. Then I sent her one message. The relationship is over. I will not sign anything connected to this move or any new application involving you. I will only request repayment for documented shared expenses you previously agreed to cover. I will arrange a time to collect my belongings with Grant present. She replied immediately. You're treating me like a criminal. I did not answer. Then, you're proving you never trusted me. Then, Owen is gone. Isn't that what you wanted? Then, please don't throw us away. I turned off notifications. The next morning, Paul emailed formal confirmation that the move-in request had been withdrawn and the deposit hold released. Clara had submitted a separate application within hours of the walkthrough. It did not move forward. Paul did not give me details, and I did not ask. Tessa texted me that afternoon. I'm sorry. Clara told me a very different version. I should not have assumed you were the problem. I wrote back. You only knew what she told you. Tessa replied. She's saying you planned the whole reveal. I stared at that message for a moment. Then I sent. I asked her for the truth before we arrived. She chose the audience. Tessa did not respond, but she did not need to. Aunt Linda called once. I almost let it go to voicemail, but I answered. Henry, she said, I'm not calling to pressure you. Okay. I just want you to know I did not understand what was happening. I figured. Clara said you were jealous of Owen and making the move difficult because you wanted everything in your name. That wasn't the arrangement. I know that now. There was a pause. She has a moving truck she can't use and furniture coming next week. I'm sorry she has to deal with that. She asked if I would call you and ask for another chance. I waited. I told her no. That surprised me. Aunt Linda continued. She did not ask whether you were hurt. She asked whether I could convince you to restore the approval. I closed my eyes. That sounds like her. I'm sorry. So am I. 2 days later, Grant came with me to Clara's place to collect my belongings. I had asked for a specific time in writing. Clara agreed. When we arrived, she opened the door wearing my gray hoodie. For one stupid second, the sight of it almost broke me. That hoodie had been part of our ordinary life. Movie nights, Sunday mornings, late-night drives for food. All the small things that make a relationship feel real even when the larger structure is failing. Clara saw me looking at it. You can have this back, she said quietly. I'm here for everything on the list. Grant stood a few feet behind me, calm and silent. Clara looked at him. You brought a witness? I brought help. You think I'm going to accuse you of something? I'm avoiding another private argument. She stepped aside. My belongings were stacked near the living room wall. 2 boxes of clothes, a small speaker, books, running shoes, a kitchen knife set I had brought over months earlier, 3 coffee mugs. Clara had packed carefully. That made it worse in a different way. While Grant carried the first box out, Clara stood near the kitchen. I canceled the truck, she said. I nodded. The company kept part of the reservation. I told you I would only split costs connected to a move we both completed. I know. She looked down. I had to get a storage unit. I did not respond. The table can't be returned. I'm sorry. Are you? Yes. But I'm not fixing it. Her eyes filled again. You make it sound like I used you. You did. I loved you. Maybe you did. You also lied to me. I was afraid you would say no. That's why consent matters. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You wanted my signature before I had the information. She wiped her face. I wasn't replacing you with Owen. I never said you were. Then why did you act like he was some threat? He wasn't the threat. The way you treated me was. She looked toward the door where Grant had disappeared with another box. Owen won't speak to me now. That's between you and him. He thinks I used him. You did. She flinched. I did not enjoy saying it. I was not trying to be cruel. But after years of letting Clara soften every fact until I doubted myself, I was done helping her rename what happened. She folded her arms around herself. I thought you would calm down after we moved. That was your plan. I thought once we were settled, you would see it wasn't a big deal. You were willing to gamble our home on me giving up. That's not fair. Fair would have been asking me. She sat down on the edge of the couch. So that's it. Yes. For years. Yes. And you can just walk away? No. I can walk away hurt. That silenced her. I took the last box from Grant and checked the list. The hoodie was still on Clara. You can keep that, I said. She gripped the sleeves. I thought it was yours. It was. I left. That evening, I changed the access code on my door and removed Clara from the shared accounts she no longer needed. There was no dramatic discovery, no secret account, no hidden second life. Just a series of practical separations. Streaming access, delivery address permissions, a grocery app, an emergency contact form. The boring infrastructure of a relationship being dismantled one item at a time. I sent 2 payment requests. One was for her agreed share of the application-related costs that were non-refundable. The other was for a utility setup fee charged before I canceled the transfer. I included receipts and screenshots of her agreement to split them. She declined both requests. So I sent one concise email listing the amounts, the dates, and the attached proof. I gave her a reasonable deadline and stated that I would not discuss the relationship through that thread. She replied with 3 paragraphs about betrayal. I did not engage. A week later, she paid one amount and disputed the other. I let the disputed amount go because it was not worth keeping the connection alive. That was not forgiveness. It was cost control. For the next month, I heard pieces of the fallout through people who had been at the walkthrough. Clara told some friends that I had used my control over the property to humiliate her. That version did not hold up well, because Tessa and Aunt Linda had watched her throw the papers down and demand my signature. She told others that Owen had only needed temporary storage. That version did not match his message asking when to bring his stuff or his statement that he expected to stay for weeks. She also said I had hidden my approval authority as a trap. That was the easiest one to answer. I had brought the paperwork to explain before signing. She had knocked it onto the floor because she believed the details did not matter as long as I signed. Owen did not move in with her. From what Tessa later told me, he stopped responding after the walkthrough. Apparently, he had believed Clara's relationship with me was already weak and that I was some passive financial backup who would complain but eventually agree. When he realized she had misrepresented the situation to him too, he wanted no part of it. I did not feel victorious about that. I did not want Clara to choose me over Owen. I wanted to be in a relationship where choosing me was not something I had to force. Aunt Linda became distant from Clara for a while. Not because of me, exactly, but because Clara kept asking relatives for money to cover the storage unit, delivery fees, and another housing search while refusing to admit why the original move failed. Tessa stopped defending her. That seemed to bother Clara more than losing Owen. Clara had always cared deeply about being seen as the reasonable one, the fun one, the person everyone trusted. At the walkthrough, that image cracked in front of people whose opinions mattered to her. I did not crack it. I stopped holding it together. About 6 weeks after the breakup, Clara sent one final email. It was shorter than the others. I understand why you canceled. I still think you could have handled it differently, but I understand why you did it. There was no apology, no mention of the lie, no acknowledgement that she had planned to move her ex into the place after securing my signature. For a moment, I considered responding. Then I archived it. The hardest part was not losing the future we had planned. It was realizing how much of that future had depended on me staying quiet. I had spent years trying to prove I was not jealous, not controlling, not difficult, not too serious. Every time Clara crossed a line, I tried to respond in the most mature way possible. But I had confused maturity with endurance. Being calm does not mean saying yes. Being patient does not mean accepting disrespect. And trust does not mean handing someone your name and money while they hide the terms from you. I do not regret canceling the move-in. I regret waiting until the walkthrough to believe what Clara had been showing me for a long time. She did not see my stability as something we were building together. She saw it as a resource she could count on while she gave someone else access to the parts of our relationship that made her feel exciting. I did not lose a home with her that day. I avoided building one on disrespect. She wanted me to prove I was not controlling. So I controlled the only things that were still mine: my name, my money, and my exit. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.